I don't know, but I do know this love is complicated. Sometimes it's about the choices we make, not just the feelings we have. Your grandmother made her choice. She lived with it. And so did I. His voice was gentle but firm. Emma could see that this was a truth Walter had lived with every day of his life. That night, Emma lay awake, thinking about the story she was uncovering. She realized that love isn't always simple or perfect. It's messy. It's full of longing and sacrifice. Sometimes people love more than one person in different ways, and sometimes they have to choose between love and what is expected of them. She thought about her own life again, the man she left behind, the relationship she had run away from. She wondered if she had been like her grandmother, choosing safety and control. Instead of risking everything for love, the discovery of Thomas's letters had changed everything Emma thought she knew about her family, her grandmother, and even herself. There was also a deeper question now. What would Emma do? Would she follow her heart, or would she let fear hold her back? Her grandfather's words echoed in her mind. You remind me of her, but you have a chance to make a different choice. This idea stayed with Emma like a quiet whisper in her soul. For the first time in a long time, she felt hope that she could be honest with herself and the people she loved. She understood that the night with her grandfather, the letters and the stories were not just about the past. They were about her future, and somewhere deep inside, Emma knew she was ready to find out what that future might hold. After the emotional revelations of the secret love letters from Thomas, Emma Parker's journey took an even more unexpected turn. In the previous part, she had discovered that her grandmother, Lillian, had loved a man named Thomas before marrying Walter, Emma's grandfather. But now Walter handed Emma another letter, one that had been carefully hidden for decades, never shown to anyone until this moment. This letter was different. It was written by Lillian herself, addressed not to Thomas, but to Walter, the man she eventually married. The letter was dated June 12, 1961, just days before their wedding. Emma held the letter in her hands, her heart pounding. It was like holding a fragile piece of history, words that had been sealed away with pain, hope, and regret. As she read the letter, she felt the emotions pouring out from the page, as if Lillian was speaking directly to her. Lillian's words were honest and raw. She admitted that she was marrying Walter not just out of love, but because she knew he would be kind to her, because he saw her not as perfect, but as a whole person. But she also confessed a secret, that she still loved Thomas. That part of her heart belonged to him. She wrote about how Thomas had asked her to run away with him, start a new life full of love and adventure. But she was afraid. Fear had held her back, and so she chose Walter instead, a choice made out of safety, not passion. The letter revealed a woman torn between duty and desire, caught between the safe path and the passionate one. Lillian didn't want to hurt Walter, but she felt she owed him the truth. She explained that she was scared to love fully, scared of what might happen if she let go of control. Emma's eyes filled with tears as she finished reading. The woman she had idealized as calm and devoted was deeply human, flawed, afraid, and longing for something more. She looked up at Walter, expecting to see anger or heartbreak. But instead, Walter smiled softly, his eyes filled with something tender. I read that letter the day before our wedding, he said quietly, and I married her anyway. Emma's breath caught in her throat. Why? She asked. Walter took a slow sip of his tea, then said, because love isn't always about passion or perfect feelings. Sometimes love is choosing someone, even when you know their heart isn't entirely yours. Sometimes love is patience and hope. I married her because I believed in us, because I wanted to be the man she could come to, even if she wasn't sure she could love me completely yet. Emma felt the weight of his words. They were not simple or easy. They were filled with decades of quiet struggle and enduring commitment. Walter continued, we all have parts of ourselves we hide even from those we love most. Your grandmother was afraid to love fully. But I was willing to wait, willing to give her space, hoping she'd find her way back to me. Emma thought about her own life, how she had pushed people away, afraid to risk heartbreak. She saw the reflection of her grandmother's fear in herself. Walter's story made her realize that love doesn't have to be perfect from the start. It can grow slowly and unevenly, like a plant reaching for sunlight. That night, the house felt different. The walls seemed to hold more than just memories. They held lessons about love's complexity. Emma felt closer to her grandmother than ever before, connected not just by blood, but by shared fears and hopes. Walter's story gave Emma courage. If he could love someone who wasn't sure of her own heart, maybe she could find the strength to face her own feelings and be honest with Liam, the man she had left behind. The letter was a turning point, not just for understanding the past, but for shaping Emma's future later that evening. As Emma sat by the window watching the stars, she thought about what Walter said. Love is about choosing. And sometimes choosing means accepting imperfection. She realized she had been waiting for a perfect love story, one without pain or confusion. But real love, her grandmother's, Walter's. And maybe her own was something more complicated and more beautiful. As Emma's thoughts drifted to Liam, she knew the truth was waiting for her too. The question was, would she be brave enough to face it? After days spent peeling back the layers of her family's past, reading secret letters, hearing her grandfather's quiet confessions, and understanding her grandmother's hidden fears, Emma Parker found herself at a crossroads. The old house in Vermont, with its creaking floors and glowing lamplight, had become a place of deep reflection and new hope. Emma's heart was full but heavy. The stories she uncovered were more than just family history. They were lessons about love's complicated nature, the choices people make out of fear or hope, and the power of patience and forgiveness. The past had changed her, but now it was time to face the present. Emma thought about Liam, the man she had left behind in Chicago. Liam was kind, patient, and had told her many times that he loved her. But Emma had run away from that love, afraid to open her heart fully, just like her grandmother once had. She realized that her fear of vulnerability had cost her something precious. Her grandmother's story had shown her that love isn't always easy or perfect, but it's worth the risk. That evening, as the Vermont sky darkened and stars began to twinkle, Emma made a decision. She couldn't change the past, but she could choose what to do with her future. She reached for her phone and typed a message to Liam. The words were simple but honest. "I'm sorry for running away. Can we talk?" Sending that message felt like stepping off a cliff into the unknown. But Emma knew it was a necessary leap. The next morning, Walter sat beside Emma on the old porch, rocking gently in his chair. "You're making your own choice now," he said softly. "That's all any of us can do." Emma smiled at him, grateful for his wisdom and love. Later, Liam arrived at the house. When Emma saw him standing at the gate, she felt a mixture of relief and nervousness. Liam's face lit up when he saw her, but his eyes also held questions. They talked for hours about fears, mistakes, hopes, and what they meant to each other. Emma shared the story of her grandmother's letters. How love could be complicated and imperfect, but still beautiful. Liam listened carefully, holding her hand gently. "We don't have to be perfect," he said. "We just have to be real." Those words touched Emma deeply. They reminded her that love wasn't about having everything figured out, but about being honest and willing to try. Over the next few days, Emma stayed in Vermont longer than she planned. She and Liam walked through the countryside, talked by the lake that her grandmother had mentioned in her letters, and began to rebuild the fragile connection they had almost lost. The old house, once a symbol of secrets and silence, became a place of new beginnings. Walter watched them with a quiet smile. He saw in Emma and Liam a hope that had lasted through decades, hope that love, even when complicated, could still find a way. On Emma's last night in Vermont, she stood outside the house, looking up at the stars. The wind was cool, carrying the scent of pine and earth. She thought about the future, not just her own. but the legacy of love passed down through generations, she whispered softly, as if sharing a promise with the night. I will be brave. I will choose love, even when it's hard. That night, Emma felt a peace she hadn't known before. She had faced the ghosts of her past and found a path forward. The story ends with a promise of tomorrow, a future where love is a choice, made every day with courage, honesty, and hope. Emma Parker was a woman in her late 20s who had built a life for herself in a busy city Chicago. She worked hard, enjoyed the small pleasures of city life, and kept her past locked away. She rarely thought about her childhood or her family's old home in Vermont. To Emma, the past was something to be put behind her. She believed she had no real connection to the quiet, lonely house where her grandparents lived, especially after her parents' tragic accident years ago. Returning to that house was not something she wanted to do. But one evening, out of the blue, she received a phone call from her grandfather, Walter. Walter was an old man, 84 years old, living alone in that very house in Vermont. He rarely called. Emma. Years had passed without much contact between them. But on this night, his voice was different. It was warm, yet carried a strange urgency. Walter told Emma there was something she needed to see, something important that belonged to her grandmother. Lillian, her grandfather's late wife, and Emma's grandmother, who had passed away long before Emma was born. Emma felt a mix of emotions: curiosity, nervousness, and a little fear. She wasn't sure if she was ready to face whatever secret her grandfather wanted to reveal. But she also felt something deep inside her stirring a faint hope that this might bring some closure to questions she didn't even know she had. Without much hesitation, Emma packed a small bag and drove the long way from Chicago to Vermont. The journey took her through winding country roads, past hills covered with autumn leaves in fiery reds and golden yellows. The quietness of the countryside was the opposite of her busy city life, and it made her feel both peaceful and strangely lonely. When Emma arrived, Walter was waiting for her at the door. He looked older than she remembered, with white hair and tired eyes, but when he saw her, his face lit up with a soft smile. He welcomed her in with a gentle hug, one that smelled faintly of pipe smoke and cinnamon, two things that reminded Emma of stories her mother had told her about her grandparents. The house itself was like a living memory. The wooden floors creaked underfoot, and the soft glow of old lamps filled the rooms with warm light. The walls held photographs of family members long gone and faded paintings of the countryside. It was a house filled with history, but also silence. That night after dinner, Walter handed Emma a small brass key. He told her to go to the attic, to a trunk in the back left corner, and to open it. Emma's heart pounded with curiosity. The attic was dark and dusty, full of forgotten things. She climbed the narrow stairs slowly, the key heavy in her hand. In the corner, under a faded tarp, was an old wooden trunk. It looked fragile and worn, like it held secrets no one wanted to disturb. Emma unlocked it carefully and opened the lid. Inside, she found a bundle of letters tied with a navy blue ribbon. The paper was yellowed with age, and the handwriting was delicate, flowing in ink that had faded but was still readable. She took one letter out and started reading. The letters were not written by her grandmother, as she expected, but by a man named Thomas. His writing was filled with love and longing. He spoke of secret meetings by a lake, quiet nights, and dreams of running away together. The letters revealed a passionate love story, but also pain. Thomas wrote about waiting, hoping, and feeling. Heartbreak because the woman he loved, her grandmother Lillian, never fully chose him. Emma was stunned. She had never heard of Thomas before. Her family never spoke about him. Everything she knew about her grandmother was of a quiet, devoted woman who married Walter and lived a simple life. But these letters told a different story, a story of love, loss, and choices made under pressure. When Emma showed the letters to her grandfather the next morning, Walter's face grew serious. He told her the truth he had never shared before. Thomas was someone from Lillian's past, a man she had loved deeply, but had to leave behind. Walter said that her grandmother had made a difficult choice. She chose to marry him. Walter, instead of running away with Thomas, he explained it wasn't because she didn't love Thomas, but because she chose what she thought was the safer path, the path of duty and security. Walter's voice was soft when he spoke about it. He said he had loved Lillian deeply and had been hurt by her. Secret love. But he also respected her decision and never judged her for it. What surprised Emma the most was when Walter looked at her and said, "You remind me of her. Stubborn, strong, but lonely inside." Those words caught Emma off guard. She realized that, like her grandmother, she had been hiding a part of herself, afraid to show her true feelings or admit her loneliness. The letters in Walter's confession made Emma question everything she had believed about love and loyalty. She wondered if people sometimes settle for what's comfortable, even if their hearts want something else. That night, Emma lay awake, thinking about the letters, the secret love her grandmother had kept, and the choices people make when they are scared. She thought about her own life, about the man she had left behind in Chicago, Liam. He had waited for her, told her he loved her, but she had run away from him. Emma felt a stirring in her heart. Maybe her grandfather was right. Maybe she too had been choosing safety over love. And maybe it was time to face that truth. The first part of the story ends on a quiet but powerful note. The discovery of the letters in the attic doesn't just reveal a hidden family secret. It begins to awaken Emma's own feelings, doubts, and hopes. It's a gentle invitation for her and the reader to question the meaning of love, sacrifice, and courage. Summary of emotional and dramatic elements in Part 1. Curiosity and mystery. The story opens with an unexpected phone call and a mysterious key, pulling Emma and the reader into a secret past. Connection to family. Emma's return to her grandfather's home triggers memories and emotions tied to her family history. Hidden love and heartbreak. The letters reveal a passionate love story that was kept secret, full of longing and pain. After the shock of discovering the old letters in the attic, Emma Parker felt a mix of emotions swirling inside her: curiosity, confusion, and a strange sense of connection to someone she had never known. These letters were written by a man named Thomas, a name she had never heard before in her family stories. Until now, she had always believed that her grandmother, Lillian, had a straightforward, quiet life with her grandfather Walter. But the words on those yellowed pages told a very different story. The letters were full of deep feelings: love, hope, pain, and regret. Thomas wrote about secret meetings, stolen moments by a lake, and dreams of running away together to start anew. His handwriting was elegant and careful, as if every word was meant to hold a piece of his heart. But there was also sadness in his words, a sense of waiting for something that would never come. Emma stayed up late into the night reading these letters. With every letter, the story became clearer. Thomas and Lillian had shared a passionate love, but it was a love that could never be fully realized. Lillian had chosen a different path, one of duty and safety, with Walter, the man who would become Emma's grandfather. Emma felt her heart ache. She couldn't understand why her grandmother would keep such a love secret for so long. What pain had she carried in silence? Why hadn't anyone spoken about Thomas before? It was as if a whole part of her family's history had been hidden away, and now it was finally being uncovered. The next morning, Emma approached Walter, holding the letters carefully. She wanted answers, truths that had been buried for decades. Walter's face softened as he looked at the letters. He didn't hide his feelings this time. He told Emma about Thomas, the man who had loved Lillian deeply and had hoped she would choose him. Walter explained that her grandmother's choice was not simple. She had loved Thomas, but she was afraid to run away with him. Fear had held her back. Walter spoke with honesty and a quiet sadness that touched Emma's heart. "Made a choice, Emma. She chose me. But it didn't mean she stopped loving Thomas." It was complicated. Sometimes love isn't about what you want, but what you believe is right." Walter paused, then looked directly at Emma. "You remind me of her, you know. Strong, independent, but there's a part of you that hides, that's lonely and afraid to say what it really wants." His words surprised Emma. She had never thought of herself as lonely. But as she thought back to her life in Chicago, to the man she left behind, Liam, she realized there was truth in what Walter said. She had been pushing feelings away, afraid to be vulnerable. That moment was a turning point. Emma saw her grandmother in a new light, not just as the woman who married Walter, but as someone who had struggled with love and fear, just like herself. Walter's stories about Lillian revealed a woman who was brave, but also deeply human, someone who made hard choices and carried silent heartbreak. Emma realized that life isn't as simple as she thought. People often hide parts of themselves, even from those they love most. As Emma spent more time in the house, she started to understand her grandfather better. Walter wasn't just a quiet old man. He was someone who had loved deeply, suffered quietly, and respected the woman he married, even though he knew her heart was divided. One evening, as they sat by the fire, Emma asked Walter a question that had been on her mind. "Do you think Grandma ever stopped loving Thomas?" Walter didn't answer right away. He stared into the flames, lost in thought. Finally, he said,